playing for CRG, it is our blue Zerg player, the challenger, Lindzo. And in the bottom right spawn position, we've got his challenger. He's currently up a game, was able to win that game because he already had Phoenix out on the field when his opponent went for the mutas. It is FM Esports, Highgain. And he is opening with a pylon in his main base battles, so we're not going to see the same build out of him as he's done in last game.
Well, I can hope that he's going to go for that one gateway expand, which is oh so nice. I'm such a fan of that. I'm expecting Baby Knight to use it extensively in the main series tonight because he's a big fan of it, and actually he was the first person I saw do it in Heart of the Swarm. And the reason it works so well is just because if we remember in game 1 for Highgain, even when he went for that Nexus first build, when he pushed across the map with just 2 Stalkers, a Zealot and a Mothership Core, he did actually quite a nice amount of damage.
Yeah, he did, so why not open the same, well, not the exact same way, but the basics are the same. It's just going to come a little bit earlier, and his expansion is going to be a lot later. And meanwhile, in the chat on the Twitch TV channel, people are theory crafting what FM would stand for. People are saying FM doesn't stand for anything, so it could stand for Force Field Master, or Fat Marauder, or Fat Melons Esports.
Send us a tweet, let us know what you think at ESET UK Masters.
What does FM stand for?
Question of the day. It's one of those things. But coming back to this map for a moment, the third for Lindzo is probably going to be the most awkward thing. It's not too bad because it's force cross, but if it's even then, it's a bit of an awkward place to go because there's lots of areas you can get a proxy pylon, lots of entrances through. And one thing Lindzo really needs to identify quite early on is that he does not need to take his third at 4 minutes. Because if you take a quick third against someone who's going for some kind of one base pressure, it's really, really not good for you.
No, you can't. As soon as you see the Protoss is not Forge expanding, but is going for a gateway expansion build, you have to delay your third and play a little bit more safe. Get an earlier speed, sometimes even get a Roach Warren, depending on what kind of pressure they're going to be applying and whether or not they are expanding. Because it is still possible to go for a straight out 4-gate. We have seen that in previous show matches in Heart of the Swarm, where I believe it did a PvP with Jorsar, where we saw Nidan just go ahead and throw out the 4-gate sometimes.
And of course, whenever you see a 4-gate, you get incredibly excited, Lily.
Yeah,
even if there's a hope of it.
I can tell you all about the meta game, and the meta game of the 4-gate, that is. But unfortunately, cheesing is just not as good anymore in Heart of the Swarm. That's why I was surprised I got placed back into Masters. I was like, well, my cheese strategies, they are not as good anymore. I might get demoted to like Diamond, but no.
Just like, oh no, I'll have to find a new way to 4-gate. And of course, that is just going for pretty much everything. Like, the Mothership Core is just the greatest way to put on early aggression. And the reason it's so much better than, say, a 4-gate is because you can still transition out of it very, very effectively. And you've got the ability to run away. You've got Photon Overcharge if you need to. So everything is just pretty ace. Now, as we've got now, just both of these two going to be trying to put on a bit of pressure. A couple of Lings coming out to be defensive. Doesn't want to lose too much to these Zealots, especially a Queen. That is the one thing that Lindzo cannot afford to go down.
No, he's not going to make the same mistake again. He will not lose a Queen. He's going to kill the Zealot most likely here. Oh, one more hit, and yes, he does get the Zealot, but at the cost of a few Lings. So both players going to be trading relatively even here. The Queen's this time staying alive. Very pivotal point. And the Protoss has now expanded. This Overlord, has the Overlord seen the expansion? Yes, it has. So Lindzo is on the ball. He knows an expansion has gone down. So we're probably going to see him expand to a third as soon as he's got, things under control.
Yeah, he needs to take that third relatively quickly, otherwise he will run into some problems economically. But it's not a super rush, because ultimately that natural has only just got up and running. The Stargate, though, exactly the same opening. I'd imagine that it's probably going to be Phoenix again, to be honest.
Yeah. It could be Phoenix, and there it is. The Phoenix gonna get started, which is not the current metagame at all. I mean, those oracles, we always see an oracle first. Apart from what, always, apart from now, obviously, because we now see the Phoenix on the production tab, but oracles are so common. It's always an oracle into Phoenix, or an oracle into more oracles.
Yeah, oracles are good units. The trouble with them is, though, they're a big commitment because they can get shut down pretty easily, and if they are shut down, there's not really much else you can do with them other than harass. And that's where the problem comes with Phoenix. You can pick off Overlords, you can get some nice lifts off. They still maintain some usability, and as we saw in Game 1, they're great if your opponent decides to go Mutalisks. So that's something which I think the metagame will shift towards being a few more Phoenix, but we'll wait to see what Lindzo does in response to this. He's currently just getting down his Rotron, getting down his lair, ready to just transition a bit more standard compared to what we saw Game 1.
Yeah, he is on 4 gases right now, which is a lot of gas, but he has a Roach Warren, he has an Evo Chamber, so he can spend that gas pretty well if he wants to. There he goes, he starts the Zerg missile attacks upgrade, so we're going to see a Roach-based composition here out of Lindzo, probably with some Infestor support, I'd say.
Yeah,
what are you thinking, Battles?
It's one of these things where Roach Hydra is really, really solid, but you can also get Swarm Hosts out fairly quickly. And I like Swarm Hosts on Star Station because the third is so open for Highgain that you can really get a good contain going on with Swarm Hosts. So I think that's something that Lindzo could potentially try and do. He is currently about to lose a Queen though, which is always frustrating, especially when you only have 3 of them out on the field. That's going to hurt the Zerg's production. Getting down a good number of Spore Crawlers, there's the Hydra Den. So it's either going to be just straight up Roach Hydra, or we'll see some Swarm Hosts thrown in as well, but both are viable strategies.
Yeah, I don't think we have to worry about the Swarm Hosts anymore now the Hydralisk Den has gone down. I mean, Roach Hydra Swarm Host is a very ridiculously gas-intensive composition. And usually when you want to go Swarm Host, you want to have a lot of them, because in pairs of 3, 4, 5, they're really bad. They really start to become powerful, just as Broodlords do, when you get like 8 of them.
Yeah, anything A+ and Swarm Hosts are just a real pain. It's also a lot more effective. The reason I like Swarm Hosts on this map is just because you can spread them out so nicely, and that means the Colossi are a lot less effective at dealing with them. Or rather, the Locusts that they spawn.
Yeah, the Locusts they spawn. That's a good point, Maddles. Colossi now on the way for Highgain, both playing very passive game. The Phoenix are still trying to find venues for harassment, and they're doing a pretty good job. They killed 6 workers, which is not bad at all, as Highgain is taking a 3rd. So we're going to be going into another big macro game as we see the first Hydras hit the field.
Now, the transition out of this Roach Hydra play is if you start seeing some Colossi, you have to get down Vipers fairly quickly, because otherwise your Hydralists are going to get taken out. Get a couple of Vipers, a few good Abducts off, and then everything goes to pieces for a Protoss, because you can focus them down very easily, and then it's basically a gateway force up against Roach Hydra, which is always going to favour the Zerg. If you leave it too long before the Vipers though, and the Colossi count reaches the sort of 3-4 mark, suddenly the Protoss player just kind of, well, not a move, but very, very aggressively push into your army.
The Muscular Augments upgrade has now finished up. The Hydras are moving across the field, and they are going to hit before the first Colossi is out. So we're going to see a nice timing being hit here by Lindzo. The first Colossi is being chrono boosted out, so it might be there in time to help defend, but it's going to be a tough defense because the Nexus is not done yet. That means no photon overcharge yet.
Oh, and the Mothership Core also getting caught out. The Hydras do take it out, but the Colossus does pop in time. So I'd say that was a fairly nice push for Lindzo. Getting the Mothership Core was great, because that was also had full energy. And if you lose a full energy Mothership Core, that means no photon overcharge, no mass recall, no time warps, which are all very, very useful when trying to engage a Roach Hydra force.
Yep, you're right. The Mothership Core now dead and not being reproduced by Highgain, so it's going to be a while before he gets that back out on the map. He is spending all his gas, and he really doesn't have the spare gas to get the Mothership Core right now. He wants to get a Twilight Council, he wants to get another Stargate. Wow, look at that production tab right now. Colossi, Thermal Lens, armor upgrades, attack upgrades, Stargates, Twilight Councils going down. He's getting a lot of tech.
Yeah, he should be though. Ultimately, I'm expecting this to be Voidway Colossi, because if you get that out, you're going to be in a great spot late game. You don't tend to just go straight Sky Toss if you've already got some Colossi on the field, so that would be a really nice composition for Highgain. Lindzo, what he needs to do is, unless he starts teching up fairly quickly, he's got to start pushing fairly soon. And the reason you want to get Voidways out is because ultimately Corruptors are going to be on the field soon. The Spire just finishing up. Voidways wreck Corruptors now.
Yeah, they do, as the Phoenix try and pick off something there. I believe they got a Hydra there, which is an okay pick-off. Hydra's, of course, a lot better than they used to be with that, the speed upgrade they have off creep, so you can now actually retreat with them without them getting killed, which makes them a lot more of a viable unit. 10 Corruptors now on the way. Wow.
Yeah, this is a lot of Corruptors. It's a big commitment to it, but means there will be a really sweet opportunity for Lindzo to move forward. And that is before the point where you get too many Void Rays out. But Highgain, he's busy trying to get his Templar Archives out. He's ready to try and get some Storms to deal with those Hydras even more cost effectively. And he's trying to take a fourth, really macro heavy. And we can see Lindzo, he's maxed out. He's just going to come and move across the map now. He's got those Corruptors.
Yeah, he's got a really powerful army, and Highgain has been investing into Stargates, into High Templar, but they don't really have enough energy to get those Storms down yet. Storm is not researched yet, Blink is not done yet, not a lot of Immortals are out on the field. Ooh, the Phoenix being very risky here, loses 2, 3, 4 of them. Uh-oh, Highgain is in a lot of trouble here.
Yeah, a good 45 supply advantage for the Zerg player, pushing into the natural base. Already we see production facilities going down. A hallucinated Colossus just wants to soak up some of the fire, but the Corruptors coming from the side just as you would want, and these Colossi are going to take a significant amount of damage here.
Yeah, he could just right-click them down if he really wants to, but there are a lot of cannons there, a lot of Stalkers, and the Photon Overcharge has gone down on the Nexus. Highgain making a good defense so far, but the Colossi getting very low on HP. One falls, the second one's going to fall. The Mothership Core does go down.
And of course, behind this Lindzo, he's just held down the R button. 33 roaches in production. He knows that without those Colossi, he can just A-move into this force. Remax very, very quickly. The Corruptors are going to try and get away to die, unfortunately, but Lindzo, he is in an amazing spot right now.
Yeah, he is. He's in an amazing position. Void Rays now starting to hit the production tab, but they are nowhere near completion yet. Look at all the roaches streaming across the field. Highgain does have a fourth base, but he really needs units right now. 6 gateways being dropped down because he cannot spend all his money. He was macroing so hard, he doesn't have enough production facilities, and 4 gateways are now in production. This is going to be a very, very close to impossible hold.
Yeah, there's just so many units here, and as you said, there's no Colossi, and this just means the roaches coming up, they're sniping down the Immortal just they should. Highgain knows he's not going to hold it, and GG's out. Leveling